the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting. So come and join the conversation. Highs they're approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dal.
Del. Del.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal, I just have one question for you.
Oh, it's going to be a quick podcast on it. Let's
It
go.
really is, because I'm sure you have a one-sentence answer.
Let's do it.
What is the future of comic book retail?
The future of comics retail is to be continued.
Thanks for listening. I really think we
Was
need to
one
have
sentence.
at least a plan or an outline or bullet points.
I think so. Do you remember how we came up with what we were going to do for that TV puppet show? Where we basically just on the ride to filming the TV puppet show, we're like, here are our answers.
Yeah.
And we didn't discuss them before we got in the car, and we didn't need to discuss them afterwards because we completely nailed it. I think that's probably what it's going to be.
Well,
I think you and I are going to have a brief discussion on the drive to McCormick Place in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And that's going to be our consensus.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The puppet show gave us questions.
Sure. But we already have, I mean, we were talking with Sam on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I think I mentally have a basic idea of what I want to say about the future of the comics industry and comics retail.
And you do, and I don't feel that is answering the question.
I think it is.
You answered the question, what is the current of comic book retail?
No, I was answering the future.
Okay.
I think we'll get into this more probably at the panel, but I think the future is the market getting even more diversified, and the definition of a comic shop is going to keep changing and growing because there are so many parts to a comic shop. 30 years ago, a comic shop was new comic books, back issues, maybe some trading cards.
Maybe sports cards.
Yeah, sports cards, trading cards. And that was it. That was basically all you had. That's all you could carry. So it was just how much of those do you have? How many new comics? How many back issue boxes? How many boxes of cards? And then as the 90s started to progress and you had card games and more role-playing games, and then eventually comic book action figures, and then more toy lines, and then manga, and then graphic novels, and then everything else. Suddenly it was like there were so many things that a comic shop could carry, and for most people should carry, that's kind of no longer possible. You're jack of all trades, master of none, basically. So I think the future of the comics industry is going to be essentially dedicated manga shops, dedicated new comic shops, dedicated graphic novel shops, dedicated back issue shops, dedicated kids shops, dedicated, two of those things together. Like Challengers is a store that, our product mix is very heavy on new comics, graphic novels, and manga and kids stuff. Like, we don't really do a lot with card games. We don't really do a lot with back issues or vintage stuff. We don't do a lot with role-playing games or board games. We don't do a lot with trading cards or sports cards. But you could viably do a comic shop that was heavy on vintage comics, back issue comics, trading card games, role-playing games, and call that a comic shop. And that would still look like a comic shop to a lot of people, even if you and I would think of that as not being a comic shop in the terms that we would define our shop as.
Yeah, I mean, Quimby's looks like a comic shop to a lot of people, and to me, that is not a comic shop.
Sure, but I mean, I think that's the future of the comics industry is less of a sense of these are the things you have to be a comic shop. I think it's more going to be people picking and choosing the parts of the comics industry that make the most sense to them and make the most financial sense in their community. And while that's already true to an extent, I think you're going to see more stores. People are frequently shocked that we don't carry vintage stuff, that our back issues are all discounted merchandise to clear out.
Well, if you think about it, the music we play is pretty vintage.
It's true because we're old and
but
stuck
we're
in our
not.
ways.
We're not selling it.
Vintage stuff like Charlie XCX. I think that's what I would consider to be how the market's going to change the most, is just more stores opening that don't feel beholden to a kind of 1980s comic shop model. You have people opening stores now that literally were not alive for any of that.
Sure.
They have no nostalgia for that. They don't care.
It's funny to me how there's just still so many old middle-class white men in the retail industry.
Sure. That's a different conversation.
It's also a kind of thing where I never really want to, unless I'm asked,
Sure.
I don't offer opinions
Sure.
because my viewpoint is the same as everybody else's.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly in the comics industry, in retail at least, one of the biggest jokes in it is that every retailer knows exactly what should be done to not only save the industry but fix everyone else's stores. So it's like, why add to that? Like, we're on a panel and I'll talk about it, and that's my opinion. But part of my opinion, the point of it is to say, like, stop looking at other stores as, well, they need to do it my way for it to make sense. Like, no, they found a way that makes sense to them, and trying to do it your way is what's going to put them out of business.
One of the reasons I keep talking about this upcoming panel, this is obviously for a panel we're going to be at on C2E2 a Friday at 5:15.
Friday the 25th?
Whatever.
24th?
The Friday.
24th.
I want to say 24th.
24th.
It's that we would never have chosen to be on a panel called The Future of Comic Book Retailing.
No.
This is not a subject that I feel comfortable talking about. We were asked to be on a retail panel, and we said yes.
Sure.
And then they gave us the topic. And I feel that if you are asking people to be on a panel and have the topic planned without a moderator, like there's no one leading this. We've been told there is not somebody who is shepherding this.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest, like, technically we should have, like, a presentation in mind, but, okay, one, I don't want to.
Right.
Two, there's two other people on the panel, so it's not like Patrick and I are putting together a presentation on the future of comics. This is 3 different stores speaking about the future of comics. So the 3 of us would need to collaborate on, a series of topics, a series of, visual aids or whatever. And it's like, none of us have time for that. Or frankly, the inclination. No one's reached out as far as, like, trying to put together some sort of brain trust on this that I know of.
I just had an idea.
Okay.
That I bring these microphones with, and we mic up and recorded our parts on my phone, and that's the podcast for the week.
Great. I mean, if you talk to
Katie.
No, I was going to say, like, the
guy from
the C2E2 people, the Repop people. A lot of this stuff goes up on, like, Popverse. I don't think this is necessarily. So they might record it. We might be able to get a recording of it.
And when I hosted that retrospective Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt panel years ago, it took months for them to be able to find the audio and get it to me.
But that was a long time ago, and they do things a lot differently now.
Yeah.
With the Popverse site, they're pushing a lot of, like, live streams and stuff. So again, I don't think this is something that I don't think this is going to go up alongside the like X-Men '97 retrospective or whatever. But, like, there might be recording, or they might have a way for us to get in on the recording.
Sure.
To just plug something into the board
I would
and
at
be
least,
like, this?
I would at least need to get the permission of the other 2.
Yeah, of course.
But if it's just us mic'd on our own, that's a little different.
I guess. I think it would just be a hard listen as far as the podcast goes, because you'd be missing out on a lot, probably a bunch of the other sounds. Like the 2 other people on the panel, anyone in the crowd.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, we haven't tried recording in this.
Yeah, I would maybe Alex. I think I would reach out to Alex at
Alex
Repop and be like, "Hey, this is our thought. Is this cool?" Because he might just be like, "No, it's not cool because we record that and we put that online or whatever."
Admittedly, and this is a pretty selfish point of view, but maybe we'd put more into it if it was a paid gig.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we'd probably approach it with more of an obligation as far as.
And don't get me wrong. We said yes. We're happy to do it.
Yeah. And I think it'll be good. I definitely think it's going to be a lot more freeform. And some of that is just, I don't know that I would put more into it if it was paid, because it's the larger problem of like, I don't know that I have an idea of what I think the larger retail marketplace is going to be, but a lot of the stuff that they're using in their kind of synopsis for the event, I'm like, I don't have a take on that.
Right.
Like, it's social media oriented stuff, and it's like, that sounds like a Patrick question to answer. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to talk about. I feel like it's going to be more of a discussion between us and the other panelists rather than like a guided answer to the question of what is the future of comics retail.
I also know several other retailers who will be in town, and I'm like, we could offer, like, we can tell Alex, like, hey, what about these people? I'm like, oh no, they're all white guys. Yeah.
We don't need more of that on the panel.
Nope.
Already overrepresented.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm surprised you said yes. Just because you're white.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for noticing it.
Well, I don't see color, but since white is the absence of color,
true.
I see that.
I think I mentioned this before. I felt like I should do it because we applied for C2, E2 passes.
Yeah.
So it's
we also had to buy them.
At a discounted rate. So I felt a little bit of like, I don't want to say no to this guy.
Sure. I also did sign us up.
Thank you for the discount. I will not help you with your job.
I did sign us up for the Lunar thing afterwards.
Okay.
But here's the bad news.
You already said the bad news, but go on.
No, I didn't, Al. Because we didn't sign up by March 29th, we don't get the free T-shirts. I know. So
we have to go shirtless to this? All right. Well, I mean, at least it's going to be a couple weeks from now, so it should be a little warmer.
I will be already wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah?
But, under my dress shirt.
Okay.
Speaking of dress shirts,
let's say
we had such a great interaction early Wednesday with a very young customer.
Yeah. And his mom.
Yeah. It's okay to say his first name, don't you think?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Parents get real weird about that.
Let's call him Marcus.
Pal. Or like, what is the other fake name that like a creators use for their kid?
No, it says Pal.
No, but there's like other creators that have done that.
Anyway, let's say Marcus.
There was a Disney blogger that I follow who calls his daughter Megatron because he's like, I don't know if she's going to want any of this on like the record. So like, baby Megatron.
Okay, that's a lie. He actually named that kid Megatron.
I don't think he named his kid Megatron.
I bet he did.
I bet he did not.
So Marcus is, I don't know, 7, 8 years old?
I have no idea.
6? Let's say 6.
Kids are 18 and over and 18 and under, and I don't understand the difference.
So Marcus and his mom came in. It was their first time in, and Marcus was very excited. They spent a lot of time looking through sidekicks to find stuff.
Yeah.
And Marcus's mom is proud of how excited her kid is to have something at 6 years old and something that he's passionate about.
Yeah.
Because, and he's only 6, but she's tried to get him into sports or playing music.
Sometimes it takes a while for sports.
Yeah. And he's found comics, and not like superhero comics. He's found like Dogman, Captain Underpants.
Oh my God.
That's what he's found. Right. And he was finding a world of stuff in sidekicks, and
that's why, a real quick aside, we have sometimes older folks that are coming in, not parents, but like more grandparents necessarily, or like really old uncles. And they'll want to get comics for like a younger relative. And they come in and they're like, where are the Batman comics for kids and stuff? And part of me is always like, that's not what they want.
Yeah, this kid does not want a Batman comic.
Like or like they'll say Archie comics or like, Little Lulu, and it's like, boy, they don't, like, here's the stuff they want, and it's not going to look like anything that you're familiar with, but I swear to God, these books sell by the millions. Like, this is what every kid that age is reading. You don't have to find a very young Batman comic for them. They don't care. They care about Dogman. They care about Investigators. They care about Amulet. They care about Wings of Fire. They care about, all that stuff. They don't give a shit about Batman comic books.
And Marcus's mom was talking to us for a while, but Marcus found he found Max Meow by John Gallagher that he wanted, and he was reading the like inside front cover and stuff, and he would find blurbs from like Dav Pilkey, or like on the very cover there's a quote from John Patrick Green, and he was so excited because it was John Patrick Green who's like he likes this book.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that a 6-year-old is so into like knowing who the creators are,
Sure, that's great.
knowing who Dev Pilkey is, knowing who John Patrick Green is.
Sure. I mean, it helps us a lot as far as, cross sells and stuff, so that they recognize a name on something else.
Sure.
I mean, again, that's the Max Meow thing of like, I read this one book, and the person who makes that book likes this other book, so I want to get this book now. Like, that's exactly how it's supposed to work.
But his mom, so excited that he has this outlet, he drew his own comic, and she had it printed. She printed like a copy, and he wanted to sell it on the playground.
Mhm.
And he was selling it for $1, and she's like, "It costs $5 to print."
Sounds like comics.
Yeah,
That is
definitely.
the comics industry right there.
But the link to this was, I mentioned fancy dress or fancy shirt,
Uh-huh.
and by looking at the Chris Giarusso illustrations of us, that was a decal that was made for the front door, but the adhesive was on the wrong side, so we never used it. It's on the back door
Mhm.
behind the counter.
Mhm.
She looked at that and said, "Oh, is that you guys?" And it's funny people can get that because those look nothing like us now.
Yeah, I mean, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. And there's a modified version outside. But anyway, she's like, "Oh, look, you're wearing ties in that." And then she realized, like, "Oh, wait, you're wearing ties right now because Marcus wears a black tie to school every day.
Mhm.
Every day he wears a dress shirt and a black tie, and she doesn't know why, and she thought it was weird, but then she sees the two of us wearing black ties,
And then she knew it was weird.
and then she's like, what is it with black ties? What am I missing?" And I said, "It's not a black tie thing. It's a tie thing.
Mhm.
Like, you just happen to catch a day where I'm wearing a solid black tie.
Same here.
I wear a lot of pattern ties. Dow only wears solid color ties."
Right. But I don't only wear black tie.
Right.
I wear red ties and gray ties.
So we're like, that's pretty great. I think it's stylish. She's like, he ruins his ties all the time. He's always getting
one of the
them.
funny things was she was like, it's always this, like I bought some good design ones, and he just said no, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, he's right. Like, it's a solid color.
And I'm like,
sorry.
disagree. I wear pattern ties very often.
Sorry, I got to back up the kid on this one.
And then she wanted us to she wanted to do a deep dive on being excited for her kid.
Mhm.
And she showed this amazing video of him watching a Transformers cartoon,
Mhm.
but she was just filming him
Mhm.
with tears coming down his face.
Sure, we've all been there.
And
We've all been there, Patrick.
she's like, "Why are you sad?" And he's like, "Megatron is gone."
I think it's Optimus Prime.
Oh, okay.
No one cries when Megatron's gone, except for
Starscream does.
maybe Soundwave.
Optimus Prime is gone. Well, where's he going? He's going back to Cybertron.
He is going back to Cybertron.
And it's like, she's from the other room. The Marcus is like, "Mom, not that video again."
It's great. It's very
But
cute.
it's just tears streaming down.
It's
Like,
very cute.
Optimus Prime is gone. He's going back to Cybertron.
Uh-huh.
Adorable, just adorable. And I told him he needs to bring his comic book in so we can see it.
Yeah, for sure.
And if it's good enough, and his mom wants to print $5 copies, we'll sell them for $1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We keep half.
Oh, that's fair. It's only fair. Part of me is like, this is too soon, but what if the kid is actually got something? We could fit him on every comic book day, right? Have Marcus do sketches?
I mean, if he knows anything about Batman, we got Batman Day coming up later in the year. We get a chance to see the book beforehand.
You just said Batman aren't for little kids.
No, I mean, but that's the thing. I don't know if he knows anything about Batman. If he does, great. If he doesn't,
Probably even better.
yeah, maybe. I mean, how hard is it to draw Batman? We've all done it.
We've all done it.
Yeah.
I have Batman sketches from both Brian Azzarello
Uh-huh.
and you.
Yeah, I did a Batman sketch for Batman Day.
Yeah.
I did a few, I think, not a lot.
I did.
We have
actually.
a terrible Batman sketch by Scott Snyder on the wall. Terrible. Stick to writing.
One year when all of our town had left early, I sat down and did Batman sketches for
Yeah,
Batman
I
Day.
think that was the year we all did it at some point because people had just wandered off and it was like, all right, I'll just sit down and do a few.
I kind of wish Batman Day wasn't a thing every year. I don't like having to do that every time because it's expected and it's stale.
Well, see, I mean, you can say stale, but I mean, I'm surprised that people still care. Like almost every year, I'm like, I don't like when it started. Sure, Batman Day, yeah, that's a really good idea for an event for like an anniversary thing. But now they did it every year. They did a Harley Quinn Day that no one cared about. But Batman Day legitimately brings people out. They come out in their Batman
this will be
t-shirts,
the-
and it's like, really?
This will be the 10th one.
And I don't say it to their face.
Yeah.
In my head, though, I'm like, really?
I don't know.
We
I
had
just,
Batman comics yesterday.
just wish we could do something different. I don't know.
Well, we'll see how Free Comic Day goes, and then we'll see where our energy reserves are at, and then we'll decide what we want to
I
do.
think I'm going to have to work the Thursday before Free Comic Book Day.
Really?
Well,
Just to prep?
yeah, because Sidekicks is completely different how it's set up, and I don't have a set visual in my head of how it's all going to go.
Oh.
I mean, I know how it's going to look when it's done.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get it there, and I can't.
Is that not something you can work on when you're at the store for the next few weeks? Just mentally?
No, it's do it, trial and error, that kind of stuff.
Oh.
And also, it'll be so much harder for anyone involved. Like last couple years, we just said to Molly, Jane, and Stella, do this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they'll have things to check in.
I mean, yes and no. Like, as always, there's the possibility of just taking that stuff, putting it in the hallway, and I can deal with it Sunday. It's
Yeah,
not a big
but
deal.
Friday's going to be the same thing. Friday, the last couple years,
Fine.
there have been 3 of us on Friday.
Fine.
Now there's only 2 of us, and we definitely will be having stuff to check in.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it's going to have
Yeah, I
to
mean,
be.
it's not ideal to have like the new books in boxes in the hallway for a few days, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world.
It may very well be.
Wow, that's
I mean,
what the world hinges on.
if you're
huh? I
watching
had no
Fallout,
idea.
I guess it is.
I haven't started.
It's the start of the end of the world, I guess.
I guess.
But anyway,
I never got very
don't-
far in the Fallout games. I thought I would. 4, I tried a little bit. I just bounced off of it a couple hours in.
Never tried it.
I like the idea of it. I like the idea of like a wacky sort of post-apocalyptic.
1950s post-apocalyptic year 2077.
Yeah. Like I think that's good. The vault idea is kind of fun. I'll watch the show. It's by Jonathan Nolan from Westworld, and it's got Walton Goggins in it
As the ghoul.
as the ghoul, which is in this case not Molly Jane, who is a ghoul.
So yeah, I wish we had a better. Kind of wish we did a lot of things differently now. I don't know what the different things are.
That's
But-
why I didn't prompt you.
We're getting too complacent in our.
I don't know. I mean,
Let's just throw this up. It's fine.
I see what you're getting at, but I think there's something to be said for us spending 16 goddamn years getting to the point where we feel like we're okay with how we approach certain annual events.
Sure.
People don't seem to mind. Like, I have had the same inclination in years past where we feel like we've got Free Comic Day down to a finely tuned machine, or at least as close to as you're ever going to get. People still come in, man. They still come in. They're excited. They're happy to be there. They get a bunch of comics. Like, I mean, you could argue that, like, doing something else would bring out a bigger crowd, but it's like, I don't know how much bigger crowd we can handle.
We can handle a bigger crowd than we've had the last couple of years.
We could, but...
But
yeah.
anyway, Dal, speaking of
Patrick.
doing things for 16 years,
Okay.
we got an email today from the Wicker Park Bucktown Chamber of Commerce. There is, it was like, oh, here's happenings, here's what's going on in the neighborhood for this, whatever. There was also a vote on best things in Wicker Park Bucktown,
Okay.
and including what is your favorite legacy business. Now, a legacy business, based on the definition from Wicker Park Bucktown,
Mhm.
any store that's been open in the neighborhood for 15 years.
Wow.
Legacy businesses have a legacy business sticker in the window.
Legacy business.
Yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't have thought 15 years would cut it, but okay.
Oh, it doesn't for us.
No?
We're not a legacy business.
Why not?
I don't know.
Did
They've
you
never
ask
acknowledged
somebody
us.
and they specifically
Who
said-
is there to ask?
I don't think it's a thing that they're going to go out of their way to reach out
But
to
I mean,
places.
they definitely had every different category of, like, vote for your favorite auto repair shop, tattoo shop, vintage place, and then there was the generic one for arts,
Oh.
which had Quimby's in it.
Okay.
That's the one we would have been in,
Mhm.
but we never got one of the stickers.
Okay.
We've never been part of this.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when
I mean, I didn't even read that email. I deleted it in my inbox. So I think it just goes to show.
and we've been in and out of the Chamber of Commerce in the last 16 years.
Mhm.
Never consistently all 16 years, but some years not.
Sure.
Just a matter of when the dues are. And when we look back and like, well, what is being part of this done for us?
Mhm.
Oh no, you get out of it what you put into it.
Well, What we put into it is getting out of it.
What we put into it was money, and we didn't get any money out of it. But yeah, it's just, and you know what? Ultimately, I don't care about having a sticker
No.
on the front door that says legacy business.
Nope.
But it's annoying to not be acknowledged in a
Sure.
community for doing the thing that other people are getting knowledge for doing.
Sure, that's fair.
But yeah, we're a legacy business. So that
Wow.
means our kids just
Cool.
get to automatically be in comic stores.
Yeah, exactly.
I also had a segue to events, but I chose to go with the Chamber of Commerce and legacy thing first.
Okay.
But we have been inundated with event requests.
Well, it is event season, man.
And the majority of them are from people we don't know. And people have to say, hey, I live in suburbs,
Right.
close town,
Right.
a state over. Here's my book. Can I do a signing?
Mhm.
And there's just so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as we established last episode, it's me who gets back to everybody.
Thank you.
And I have just not been doing it.
Thank you, Patrick.
I've been overwhelmed. And if you look on our socials, I posted a calendar of stuff we have just through May.
Mhm.
And that doesn't even include, like, it's got April's book club, the Dick Tracy signing. And then for May, it's got Brian Azarello and Stephanie Phillips with Distillery,
Mhm.
Free Comic Book Day.
Mhm.
It missed the graphic novel seminar with the
The law.
the lawyer for creative arts,
Mhm.
but then it had Sage Coffee, and then it missed the book club, but then it did have Sarah Beacon,
Mhm.
and that's just through May.
It's technically just like May 18th.
Yeah. We're working on something for June right now that started today.
Yeah.
We've got something in July with Bianca Eunice that we've got confirmation on from the other side. And more of these things involve more people.
Because you're not just dealing with like, hey, I got copies of my book. Can I bring them by to sell them? It's like, oh, there's a publisher involved.
Yeah.
And that publisher needs to know what's going on so that they can vet it, so that they can provide whatever they need to provide.
But also on our end, it has to be like, can we source this?
Mhm.
Can we make it returnable?
Yes.
And I think we're going to have a problem for the one that I was working on today,
Yeah.
because where we have to get it from.
Yep. That is pretty much going to be non-returnable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it moved from the generic Challengers email to my personal account.
Okay.
And then it moved from me and the creator to me and the publicist at the publisher.
Yeah.
The publicist or publisherist.
Okay.
Want to make that one word.
Yeah.
Because also there's timing requests of, hey, what works best for me is before the release date.
Mhm.
So it has to be a formal request of, can we do this?
Yeah.
Just a few days.
Is this a launch event fine for you?
Yeah. And it was interesting to know that this is a major publisher,
Mhm.
somebody who is well represented in Challengers, specifically in Sidekicks,
Mhm.
who, when they suggested a release signing event for this book to the creator, they only could name 2 bookstores in Chicagoland in total, and both were suburban.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
And none of them were comic shops. And the
No.
creator
I
had
think I
said,
know the ones.
can I do it in Challengers? Here's Challengers. Here's their website. Here's what they're about. So then she just started reaching out to us, and then
Cool.
Yeah. I like that you said, I think I know the ones. It was still in the email that you were copied on.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't read the whole thing.
I think you summed up your email involvement.
Thanks, Patrick.
My goodness. But yeah, there's many, and there's other. We don't often say no. We say no if it's like, oh, I want to do it the weekend of C2E2.
Yeah, again, like there's times where it's just logistically impossible. Like it cannot be done. There's no way we can do it. Or if we're just convinced of like, no one's going to come out for this.
Yeah.
Like, not because of you, the creator, but because of you are picking the wrong venue for this. So yeah, like we have to say no to stuff that's C2E2 weekend because it's just like, no one's going to show up. Like,
yeah,
we're not there. Everyone who would come to this is, they're a McCormick place. They're not coming out to a North Side shop for that. They're just not going to. Or, if it's people have wanted to do essentially like non-comic events, and it's like, don't bother. Like, that's not our audience. Like, pick a bookshop, pick a different kind of store entirely.
I feel like a lot more events in other stores or other cities or other mediums, I meant to say, are getting to be more than just a signing. Like, there's more of a audio visual component, and
I would say Dog and Pony Show, but okay, sure.
yeah, that's fine. As opposed to the last Dog and Pony Show, of which there have been many, many more since then.
Correct.
Bob Mould, who just keeps going on and
Unbelievable, that guy. Yeah, it seems like the days of just like a creator is there to sign copies of whatever book. Like, nope.
Yes,
Gotta be more than that.
But when represented in movies or TV shows, it's still just an author at a table, maybe reading.
It's usually
but
a
also
reading.
signing.
Almost every time you're in a movie, when you're led into a author event, it is the author reading from the book that they are currently promoting, and then a signing afterwards.
Two recent ones that come to mind would be Argyle.
Yes, Ant-Man's the other one I'm thinking of.
And the other one I'm thinking of is Murder at the End of the World.
I haven't watched that yet.
I know, but I mean, it's literally just like,
But like,
it's
that
an
is the
author
lead-in,
reading.
is like, oh, here's the poster or whatever
Yeah.
of like advertising the event, and then the next shot is like either the crowd reacting to the author reading, or like the author reading from the book. One of the two. That's the only two options you get after you've seen the poster for the author event.
Sometimes they have wonderfully large foam core stand-ups of the book covers
Oh, always, yeah.
there.
And then like the next scene is like them signing
Yep,
for all the
so-
people.
yeah,
Like,
uh-huh.
this is
And you know what?
Here I
You know
am
what's,
editing
you know what's
this in my
interesting
head.
about those signings? Every person in line buys the book.
Amazing.
Buys the book from that store.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, there's just a lot of events to get through. And, we don't mind doing local events and things, but most of these are not going to be draws. They're more additive to the experience of being in the store at the same time.
Maybe.
Yeah. That being said, Brian Azzarello and Stephanie Phillips will definitely be a draw.
Sure.
And I did reach out yesterday afternoon to our guy at Distillery to say, hey, you came to us with this after FOCs.
Hi.
Can we get this many extras?
We FOC'd like they were not going to be in the store.
Yeah, exactly.
And now Brian Azzarello is going to be in the store.
Yep.
So
Can we please get some more?
That's different.
And also, you're advertising this to be a Devil's Cut signing, and that book is long out of print.
Yeah, that came out a year ago. 1 year ago.
Wow.
Almost exactly. Right?
I don't remember.
That's how anniversaries work?
Yeah, oh, exactly, yeah. Maybe it's the anniversary of the announcement. Because Devil's Cut didn't come out until, like, San Diego.
Is that right?
Yeah. I think it's a year of the anniversary. There are, I think, 4 distillery anniversary events.
Mm-hmm.
Portland has Becky Cloonan and Joelle Jones, which is one I would love to have gone to.
Do you think Joel Jones is going to do like a Tualote accent? Just like pretend like,
No, Becky has to do that.
boy, I'm from the UK.
Bristol. New York has James Tynan at, I think, Midtown. London has Lee Garbett and Jock. And then we have Brian and Stephanie.
We do. Holding on the fort for the Midwest.
Oh, I thought you meant holding on the fort for us so we can like go get lunch and they can run the
What are the hours of the signing?
11 to 1.
I'm usually not hungry for lunch by then.
Fine breakfast.
Okay, sure.
I think that's more of a draw. I think it'd be way more fun to go to a shop and have Brian ring you up.
Sure. Wasn't that the old Morgan Boom thing of like, Boom's gonna come to your shop and we're gonna ring people up. And
Yeah, well, the point was just so they could learn everybody's systems.
I know,
and
but they did it. I
Yeah,
mean, that was still fun.
yeah, and I thought it was great, and we were also the first show they did it to.
Uh-huh.
But it's a little bit less of a draw when it's marketing people versus creators.
No, I understand, but I still think it's fun.
I think it's fun too.
Yeah.
Hell, I still want, like back in the day, I wanted to swap with Eric Thornton and work at Chicago Comics, and he would work with you for a day.
Sure. I remember that being a thing that Diamond used to do, where they would send out like some of their people to like work a store basically on a Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever the receiving and whatever day was, to understand like these policies that you have, this is how they're affecting stores. Like this is how the packing and shipping and invoicing and everything else affects the store in its day-to-day operations.
Maybe
So
I'll
if,
pitch
if
that.
literally anybody from like a publisher or a distributor is like, I want to spend a day at Challengers, shoot us an email.
Yeah, for sure. I'll pitch that to Stephanie. I'll be like, hey, for Phoenix,
Mhm.
do you want to come out and not sign, work the register, ring people up?
They announced there's been more announcements for the X-Men stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're on a pathway to something, but
Nah, let's
let's
new
just
topic
let's,
entirely.
let's talk about X-Men comic books. So the first announcement was the 3 main X-Men books, X-Men, Uncanny, and Exceptional, launching July, August, and September, and then they had
Correct me if I'm wrong. There was already an Exceptional X-Men back in the day, like a miniseries.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
And then there was, on the announcement graphic, there were like six
more
logos of additional books with no real release dates. Well, they've announced that like I think 3 of them are coming out in July. X-Force.
Phoenix?
I don't know if Phoenix is. I'm sure there's one I'm forgetting about. And NYX was the one that was announced, I think, today.
Okay.
NYX is 5 younger mutants.
On the run in the big city.
I guess not even on the run. They're just in New York.
Okay.
It is Laura Kinney.
Uh-huh.
It is Prodigy.
Okay.
It is
I wonder if there's still a couple.
Anole, which I'm sure I'm saying wrong.
Okay.
It is apparently the last remaining Cuckoo.
Okay.
And Ms. Marvel.
Huh. You didn't mention Honey Badger.
I didn't, but you got to assume if Laura's there, that probably like Gabby's there too, and probably Jonathan the Wolverine.
I mean, I was gonna get to Jonathan eventually, but
yeah.
If you have to have Gabby if you have Laura.
Yeah.
Did they announce creative team?
They did.
Are we moving on then?
Why bother? The writing team is Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. The artist is someone whose name I literally did not recognize and was like, I could look it up, but I'm not gonna probably end up liking what I see. Covered by Sarah Pichelli, looks good. Yeah, it's probably going to be in color. Yeah.
Lansing and Kelly would be names that I would have put on high up on my Brevoort call list.
Yep. Another way of saying NYX is 10 issues long.
So why don't you then tell people who's doing X-Force?
X-Force is Jeffrey Thorne, who most famously maybe did a run on Green Lantern that needed a big reboot afterwards. The artist, Marcus Toe, I think.
Yes.
And the gimmick for X-Force this time is that Forge is leading the team. Because, hey, are you all watching X-Men 97? Forge is on that.
No, and okay.
Yeah, it's...
Everybody is raving about this week's episode, though. I may have to watch it.
I'm sure you're not going to like it if you don't like the other ones. I liked it a lot.
I thought 2 was okay.
What was 2? 2 is the Trial of Magneto?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
And 3 was backwards.
3 was not good. 4 is weird because it's...
And how many episodes is it? Like 6?
This is the 5th one, I believe.
But I mean, total, it's...
I have no idea how many it is.
I heard it's like a really low number.
Maybe. The last week's episode, the 4th episode, is real weird because it's 2 short stories that are unconnected. And the second short story is to be continued, but not this week.
Huh. Okay.
So they'll do the other half, I don't know, at some point. But yeah, this one was good. It definitely, for people who are more modern X-Men fans who like the Grant Morrison stuff or the Hickman stuff, it's definitely pulling from those stories.
Sure it wasn't Jim Morrison who wrote those?
I'm 99% certain it was Grant Morrison.
I was literally having a conversation with a comic creator today about Jim Morrison writing the X-Men books.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And about how he's not a great writer for comics, but had a pretty good band, I think, called Archways or Portals or something.
Mm-hmm.
That is a true story, for the record. That was not just me being an idiot.
I didn't think you were riffing or anything.
I definitely wasn't. It was a true story from earlier today, and I just got derailed. I had a thing.
Sorry.
No. It was playing off of that. I love how if you had to name the two biggest things that got people in the comics at any point in their lives, can you name them?
The X-Men cartoon?
Uh-huh. I was hoping you go with the other one first because it was
The
earlier.
Batman cartoon?
No. Sandman.
Okay, Sandman, sure.
Sandman and the X-Men 92 cartoon.
Uh-huh.
And I love the fact that so many people got into comics because of the X-Men cartoon. And even this X-Men 97 cartoon, I like that it's picking up on storylines that I read as a comic reader.
Sure.
And I like that I could say, like, oh, I know this story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a thing that I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of people that cannot believe that I just don't care about it
I completely believe it.
is staggering to me.
Mm-hmm.
How this one aspect, like everybody thinks that you're united. And there's been plenty of other media interpretations of comics that people don't necessarily assume everybody's into as much. But when I just say that I'm just meh on X-Men 97, people are stunned.
Sure. I can think of the two main reasons why. One, you don't like cartoons that much. And two...
Wait, why I'm not into it or why people are stunned?
Why you're not into it.
Yeah.
One, you don't like cartoons that much. Not to say you don't like them at all, but you don't.
Which is weird because I grew up on Saturday morning cartoons.
It's not a thing that is a huge part of your adult life.
Correct.
And the other thing is that I think this specific nostalgia, while you can connect with it intellectually, you don't have any, like, there's no emotional payload for you. You don't care. Like, if they were doing this with, like, you know, Kirby Cap stuff or whatever, like, you would probably have a completely different emotional reaction to it. You don't with this. Like, this is, you recognize it, but that was not, it doesn't mean as much.
Like, you and I watched Invincible Season 1.
Yeah.
And it was great.
It's great.
Neither of us have watched Season 2.
I mean, too. It's on the list.
I started watching the first episode.
Now that it ended.
And I stopped. I stopped like 20 minutes in.
I'm sure I'll get around to it. Like, it's just, because I do like cartoons. But it's just...
Yeah, you watch Kamen Rider all the time. That's a big cartoon,
I'm
right?
literally watching a Kamen Rider cartoon right now. Futopii, the weirdly animated sequel to Kamen Rider Double. It's actually pretty good. They do a weird thing, though, and you might appreciate this part. Kamen Rider Double is a mystery-oriented show, so it's 2-parters. With the animated series, they go to 3-parters, which makes the mystery structure really weird.
Okay.
Because you essentially have to have not just one cliffhanger, you've got to have 2 now. And the one I just watched, they paced it really weird, where they kind of resolved the character conflict at the end of part 2. So part 3 is just like this really long epilogue, and it's like, this doesn't work. Like, you paced it wrong. The conclusion of, like, the case concludes in part 3, but who cares? Like, you care about what the detectives are doing and how the characters are interacting and what their conflict is for this mystery. But even the mystery, it wasn't unresolved. It was just they defeated the culprit. That's what they do in part 3. And it's like, but you already know everything. There's nothing really new to learn besides some minor background details that are largely irrelevant to what's going on in the story.
I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit. And I don't watch TV like I used to watch TV when I was younger. And I
Do you mean in black and white?
I only watch...
You're not that old.
It was just puppet shows. It's live action puppet shows.
You spent most of the show working the antenna.
It was just
to try and get the reception to come in.
Dad's on the roof.
Is it
better yet? Is it better yet? You know, but when I was a kid, it was must-see TV, or like
monoculture.
The full lineup of all the NBC sitcoms for one night, like 2 hours in a row.
You and I are both old enough, and largely part of the same generation enough, to remember when you would buy the TV Guide fall preview.
Oh, yeah.
To block out
to me,
what
that
you
was
can
the
watch
same
and
thing
how you
as
can
getting
watch it.
The Sears catalog for Christmas.
Sure.
And going through and marking what you want.
You have to be a certain age to understand.
Yeah. The fall preview issue of TV Guide, not only was it an event purchase for me, it was also right at usually the start of double sessions for football practice, which was a few weeks before school started. Mm-hmm. So it definitely heralded in the new school semester and all that.
And even beyond that, like later, you and I would both have, like a lot of adults who watched a lot of TV, schedules on your VCRs to make sure that, the 2 or 3 hours, and it's usually like 2 hours unless you had like a really shitty VCR that, or like you would set the tape for like the EP or whatever,
Yeah.
SP, where you could fit 6 hours on, but it would look like garbage, or 2 hours, and
Yeah.
it would look great. So it's like, well, and you're also copying over it every single week. So all of that stuff, like, that was how TV was watched.
There was a
and
period-
how much TV you watched.
We're getting way off of comics, but it's still nerddom. There was a period 20 years ago where I had just one videotape per day
Same here.
labeled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
And you just put it in the VCR Monday morning, make sure you get your Monday shows.
So you had to do it that way because if you had one tape, you'd have to watch it before the next
Yeah.
one started.
Yeah.
So with this, it's like, well, I know I'm going to have a block of time on Thursday, so I'll watch Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday then.
And I missed a whole bunch of Buffy season 7 because I was not home a lot of those nights.
Sure. And I mean, God help you if something moved time slots or was pushed back or preempted in some way. You were hoping that, like, in a few months when they rerun it over the summer, maybe I'll get a chance to see it.
But anyway, we're getting...
But that was how it used to be.
Right.
How is it now for you?
Well, so aside from wrestling
Mhm.
and Taskmaster, which is 2 10-episode seasons a year,
Mhm.
I don't make...
Well, I mean, not the Taskmaster you're talking about, just Taskmaster UK, though.
We're making it easier for people.
Okay,
to
because I mean,
understand here.
there's you do other Taskmasters, which adds significantly more.
but
seasons.
they're not a guaranteed time. It's whenever they get to them.
Okay, go on.
I know there are 2 seasons of UK every year.
Got it. Okay.
There may not be a New Zealand one at all this year,
Wow.
and there's only been one Australian, so you can't count that as a recurring thing.
Okay.
Don't try to use my words against me. Don't try to paint me as more of a TV
I'm
watcher.
just trying to get more exact here.
So I only watch one episode of episodic TV a day, and that's at night when I'm working out.
Okay.
And I know I don't look like a person who works out every day, but I am, because I have to work out an hour every day to look and feel this bad.
Mhm.
Imagine if I didn't. It'd be so much worse. So I just watch TV while I'm working out, and I need things that aren't overly dramatic or overly talky, preferably things with action.
Sure. Reacher.
So yeah, Reacher, that's great. Like a couple years ago, it was a full Buffy and Angel rewatch.
Every single season of Supernatural.
Well, then I discovered Supernatural, and that kept me busy for almost a year.
Sure.
So I need to, and a lot of the things I watch, they're dumb. And I'm okay with that because it needs to keep me going. Sometimes they're too dramatic, and I find myself slowing down to match the pace of the show.
Sure. You're getting too involved in what you're watching.
Yeah, like I can't do West Wing
Okay.
because it's just walking and talking, and it doesn't
Sure.
keep your heart pumping.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is now new Netflix shows or what have you that are all like one season, or
Right.
like The Night Manager. That was great, one season.
Mhm.
There's only been 2 seasons of Reacher.
Sure.
I'm doing Slow Horses, but sometimes it's a little slow
Mhm.
for
Sometimes
what I'm
it's
doing.
horses, but go on.
I don't know the name of this podcast, but there's a podcast, a British podcast with Richard Osman and another woman, and it's all entertainment-based stuff where they answer questions about how shows are produced, how Netflix makes money, how, like, can you name the 3 biggest, like the 1, 2, and 3 shows on Netflix for this week?
No.
Like that was a topic they did just
Oh, okay. I thought
yesterday.
you were asking.
Well, I mean, I was, but
I don't think I could even name 3 shows that were on Netflix. This week.
number 1 is The Gentleman,
Oh, the Guy
which
Ritchie thing?
which is a huge hit for them
Wow. Okay.
and killing all sorts of ratings.
No interest in watching that.
Same. Also, I hate how they're forcing it down your throat. Number 3 is The 3-Body
I
Problem,
haven't turned on Netflix in a while.
which is not doing well for
I'm
Netflix.
on Paramount Plus a lot the last few months.
Considering how much money they spent on it,
Yeah.
and it looks bad for future pickups.
Crazy.
Number 2 is an ITV drama from like 2012 that they bought the rights to for $40,000. I don't even know what it's called. I can't
Well, this
remember
is
it.
like the Suits thing. Like, why was Suits a big
Yeah,
deal all
right,
of a sudden
something
for
like
an
that.
entire summer? I don't know.
But the thing is, the woman part of this said that The Gentleman is terrible and Guy Ritchie never has anything to say. But then she also said how terrible 3-Body Problem was. And I got into that one.
3-Body Problem?
Yeah.
It's something I plan on watching. Not to get off topic or whatever, but I'll real briefly go over my TV habits currently. I am in the middle of a rewatch of Kamen Rider Double and also writing those up daily.
A rewatch?
Rewatch, yeah.
You have so many others that you haven't watched before?
No, I'm caught up. So rewatch of that. So that's
Go to the early stuff.
an episode. No, Showa. I don't truck with Showa. Kamen Rider Double. That's an episode a day, and that's been going on for the last 3 months.
I don't understand what he's saying.
I'm almost done, but then I'm also doing Star Trek Discovery, which I did the 4 seasons that had been released, and the 5th season just started. So I just did the first episode of season 5 tonight. Then like that's weekly now, so I'll have more time and I'll try and get in other stuff, but I generally don't watch a thing every single day. Like I'll watch Choco Pro Wrestling when I'm on the treadmill working out. But otherwise I will just go through weeks of not watching anything besides, again, the aforementioned like Kamen Rider if I'm doing it right up on it. But then I will just spend I will binge something over like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, see, I don't binge. So my binging is one a day.
I really just go through these periods where I'm like, I just want to sit on the couch and watch like 3 episodes of Star Trek Discovery today. But then in a month, I will spend an entire week just playing a video game or working on a project or, going places or whatever. I don't have the routine of this hour or 2 every day I watch something. Like, I really, really don't. Like, I don't have that muscle anymore, and I used to. It used to be that would be what I would do every single night. I would sit down on the couch, and I would watch the 2 hours of whatever programming was on that day that I was excited about. Now it's like, it's
well,
like...
I mean, to be fair...
Not.
AEW wrestling is like at minimum 5 hours a week for you.
Wrestling. I watch so much wrestling.
You watch at least 5 hours a week.
I do, yeah.
To my 2.
Wednesday nights is 2 hours of Dynamite.
And I watch that.
Friday
I did
night.
preface mine by saying, aside from wrestling.
Friday night is Rampage, but sometimes I watch it Friday night, sometimes I watch it Saturday morning, and then Saturday night is Collision, and I'll try and watch Collision live because I enjoy it more when I'm not able to jump around through the episode.
As a lifelong wrestling fan, I'm so burned out that all I do is 2 hours of Dynamite, if that.
And even that somewhat reluctantly.
But also pay-per-views.
You want to be excited about it, but when you watch it, you're a little reluctant.
Yeah. We're going to see New Japan tomorrow. We host all the pay-per-views. We're doing
I'm still very into AEW, which is weird.
Great.
If 4 years ago or whatever,
you
when this
took
started,
like a 10-year break.
I was kind of like, because we were doing NXT pay-per-views, like those are like quarterly, and those are really fun. But I did not want to watch the NXT show or any of the WWE product. And then we did that first All In. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And then
that was it. The switch was thrown.
Well, so then like we watched Double or Nothing, I think was the next pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And then they announced they were doing their TV show. And you were like, well, we're going to watch a TV show because we were both into it, but you were really into it. And I'm like,
But I mean, it was September was All In,
mm-hmm.
and then the TV show was the following year, October.
Yeah, October,
so this is a year stretch.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they did All In. They did Double or Nothing. They did another All In, which we were able to also see live. Thank you, Marty and Sarah.
No, in fact, that was All Out.
Oh, it was All Out by that point.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah,
So far, they've only been 2 because All In was a separate thing. Mm-hmm. All Out is AEW branded.
Yes. So, and then that October was the start of it, and you were like, oh, well, are we going to watch it? And I, in my brain, I'm like, I can't watch 2 hours of wrestling every week. That's why I got out of it. And I'm like, sure. And I just thought, like, this is going to wear off. Like, we're both going to get bored of this. This is not. And then inexplicably, years later, I'm the one watching it 5 hours a week.
Okay,
and you're
so
cracking jokes about how bad Collision is that you don't watch.
I never said it's bad. I just said I don't watch it.
Let's change the topic.
What do you think of the new wax-coated boards that Lunar uses in their packing?
I think they're neat. I hope it doesn't cost them too much.
What do you think the benefit is of having? So explain what I'm talking about.
Sure. So Lunar, when they're shipping stuff out, puts a little piece of cardboard on top of the stack of comics in the box. So in theory, if you're cutting into it or whatever, you don't accidentally cut into anything. And we do the same thing when we're shipping stuff out.
I mean, most distributors do.
But I'm saying Lunar specifically because we're talking about the Lunar ones. They are just, brown cardboard but the new ones are glossy. It's a glossy brown cardboard. The disadvantage is that we frequently save those to write on and put in people's boxes, and we probably can't do that with the glossy ones.
Yeah.
But we can reuse them in packing, which is fine for me.
The benefit of it, I think, is that some of the ways books are printed, unfortunately mainly Marvel covers, is often, especially if you have a white cover, ink is going to transfer from the books stacked on top of it. And if you have a wax board on the top or separating the two stacks in a box, it keeps at least the top ones safe from any damage.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's supposed to be slicker, like just more.
It is slicker, and that's true.
Yeah. Rumor is they're going to be putting one in between every single book in the box.
That's great. I love when Dark Horse would do the sheet of paper between every hardcover book. You're just like, oh, cool, I got 15 of these. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, we promised this last week, and now it's almost the end of an episode, but we did spend 20 minutes talking about TV habits.
Televisions.
So here you go, Dal. Take this piece of paper. Stop playing with your watch.
I was closing an email that we should probably read after this.
Oh, no. Is it bad?
No, I don't think so. So as we talked about a few weeks ago, Diamond Comic Distribution is switching around how they bill shipping, basically, shipping costs for retailers when books are getting shipped out. We currently pick up from a local expediter. We have the option of switching to having the books delivered via UPS. We'd avoided that for a number of years because Diamond was our major distributor. They were our only real comic distributor for a number of years. And the ability to know that we
Do you remember those days?
Yeah, the ability to know that we were picking up from a specific place meant we never had to deal with UPS delays or any of the other things that a lot of stores have had to deal with. Nowadays, Diamond is our smallest distribution option, and frankly, it doesn't really matter if we get our Diamond books late 1 week out of 52. So Patrick and I were going to have a quick discussion over whether or not we should switch from picking up our Diamond books every Tuesday to getting them shipped out. One of the reasons why we're actively considering this isn't just Diamond's new 3% flat rate shipping cost, where your shipping cost for a box of goods is 3% of the retail cost, rather than some largely
arbitrary,
fictitious number
divined by the fates.
Yep, the Diamond attaches to your order, so you have no idea why you're paying what you're paying or what you're going to end up paying for the next one.
I think they either have a spinner board or a dart board, but every spot the number starts with a 5.
So yeah, this is beyond just the price change being something where it's like, oh, this actually would not be terrible for us. It would be cheaper than what we would normally be paying to pick up the books out of the expediter, which is insane to me. The other thing is that the repairs and modifications that are undergoing the 9094 Expressway for the next now 2 years is real bad. And that's adding a ton of extra time to the time it takes us to go pick up the books on Tuesdays. And a bunch of aggravation.
Yeah, all those things.
So we were going to have a quick discussion as to whether or not Patrick, who is the one who is actually picking these things up on Tuesday, is going to decide whether or not we're going to keep picking up on Tuesdays or just getting stuff delivered.
So it's not as simple as that. It's not like that's the choices.
No.
It's a completely different schedule change.
Sure. I mean, one of the other things is that currently on Tuesdays, Patrick goes and drives out to the store, and then drives from the store to the expediters to go pick up the books, brings the books back, and then spends part of the afternoon cracking the boxes open from Diamond, checking in everything, logging in the invoice, pulling the subscription books for subscribers. If we were getting stuff sent via UPS, it doesn't really make sense for Patrick to come out and do this on a Tuesday because Tuesdays are pretty dead. We don't have that many customers. One person can easily do all that stuff. It's 2 people now because one person has to be at the store while a second person drives.
And while the other person's out of the store for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, well, if the second person isn't necessary to drive, the second person isn't necessary at all, and they can just stay home. So that is the other thing that would potentially be happening if we decided to have UPS drop off the books, is that Patrick could just stay home on Tuesdays.
I'm having a hard time justifying doing that, knowing that you will then do everything on Tuesday,
Okay.
including make spaces.
I do most
Put
of
everything out.
I do that on Monday for the most part.
It seems like the last couple of Tuesdays.
This
everything
is
on the
something I
wall.
have zero problem with, and I think you do enough computer work, enough remote work as it is, that having Tuesday to absorb a lot of that could free up a lot of other time for you other times in the week.
It's just such a weird thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, bottom line is if it saves us money, it's worth doing.
It does, but it's not like it saves us, millions of dollars. It saves us a chunk of change, but like
At right now, at this point,
Sure.
a chunk of change
I get it.
is the world.
I get it. But like, I mean, look, brass tacks, this is saving us probably around $100 a month. Which, again, nothing to sneeze at. That's $1,200 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, it's $100. That's not the main reason to be doing it. The main reason is just,
Oh, man.
it becomes unnecessary
Next
to
week,
keep doing it the way we were doing it.
not next week, but the week after, the Lunar invoice I just got today,
Yeah.
it is double what our biggest invoice has ever been.
Wow. I wonder why.
It's
Didn't look at it.
like $400 in restock, which isn't a lot.
No.
It's 3 wolf covers.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's some of
a ton of spectrographs, which are $10 books.
Yeah, okay.
It is the free comic day books
Yeah.
for Image.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, for DC.
sure.
Image it will be this upcoming week or maybe today. But yeah, it's like, how much is that?
Mhm.
I have a specific routine for how a Lunar bill gets paid,
Mhm.
and that one breaks it.
Yes. Speaking of Lunar, they announced today that Houses of the Unholy will have a book plate.
Oh,
Not that there was any huge surprise
I
that it
always
wouldn't, but
assumed it would be.
it was added to the system today.
Will it come out before their next book comes out? Just remember how long it took us to get ours.
Well,
And there
hopefully
are-
they closed the loophole that
And there
caused
are
that to happen.
still people who have one on hold that we should just release back into the wild.
Probably. I think one of the things I'm probably going to do Sunday or Monday is a second round of calls for those people and the t-shirt people who haven't
T-shirts,
picked them
yeah.
up. Because it's been a month for the t-shirts where it's like, you got to come in.
Somebody came in
Please come
yesterday
in.
and said, I'm probably the last person to come pick up my shirt. I'm like, not even
No.
close.
One other person did come in that day, which is surprising because it's like, again, we didn't do additional calls yet. So why did 2 people decide that was the day they were going to come in?
Well, I mean, that person came in just to get new books
Mhm.
and happened to have a shirt on hold.
Right.
And then a club member came in who happened to have a shirt on hold.
Oh, I mean, I'm talking about another person
Oh, okay.
entirely, not a club
Okay.
member who just came in.
Got it.
And I recognized her and I went, oh, it was, and no, she told me. She's like, I think I have a shirt. Oh, you do? Yes.
Yeah, fine. Diamond set it in motion. Do what you got to do.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what I have to do. I guess I email Diamond.
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't look at me and say, I don't know. Like, I don't either. That's what having you do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll reach out tomorrow then. Let's see what we do.
Scan the QR code. Maybe that'll help.
No, that's their auto.
Or that other one.
We're not doing that.
Weird. I mean, I fully expect my schedule to change soon,
Mhm.
not counting Tuesdays.
Right.
But it's almost kind of mean to be like, hey, here's this extra day off. And then, oh no, it's going away.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't know for sure.
I
that's-
expect.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
It may happen anyway now.
That's true. No, I again, to my mind, it's you do so much above and beyond.
Let's just stop right there.
Too late I said it.
There we go. No, I'm just saying, like that. We'll end it right there. Like you do too much above and beyond. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.